Hello and welcome back to the Tech Blackboard. In this part 12 today, I have got some of the very latest and important 15 questions for you for our AZ-104 real exam question and answer series. If you like the content of this video, then please do not forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel and share these videos to everyone who is doing AZ-104 certification. We have already covered 130 questions spanning around 11 parts, and each question is well supported by Microsoft documentation. So if you have missed watching any of these parts, the link for the same is now available on the I button in the top right corner and also available in the description box. I would also like to mention that for each part you can get a PDF version with all the questions and answers if you answer some simple questions asked in each respective part. And you can use all these PDF files to learn in offline modes as well. If you want the PDF version of this part 12, then you have to tell me the correct answers for question number 132, 137 and 145. Answers to all these questions are available in this video itself. So do not skip any part of the video and watch the video very carefully so you do not miss any important question and answer. So let's get started. So let's begin our part 12 with an interesting question on resource deletion and recovery service world. So here is the question number 131. The question says that you have an Azure subscription that contains a resource group named RG1. Now RG1 is set to West Europe location and is used to create temporary resources for a project. Moving on, RG1 contains the resources as shown in the following table. Now here you can see in this table we have lot of resources given. We have VM1, a virtual machine that is located in North Europe. The RGV1 recovery service vault that is also located in North Europe. Then we have SQLDB01, that is a SQL server on Azure virtual machine, and this is also located in North Europe. And then at the last we have SA1, which is a storage account in West Europe. Further, the question says that SQLDB01 is backed up to RGV1. And when the project is complete, you attempt to delete RG1 from the Azure portal. However, the deletion fails. Now you need to delete RG1. So what should you do first? And your options are delete virtual machine, or should you first stop the virtual machine, or should you stop the backup of SQLDB01? The last option given is delete SA1. So which out of these four should you do the first? Now the correct answer for this question is option C, stop the backup of SQLDB01. Now let me take you to the Microsoft site where we will read more and validate our answer. So this is the Microsoft site that gives you detail on how to delete an Azure Recovery Services vault. And before you even start the process, Microsoft has laid down some dependencies that you must consider before you delete a recovery services vault. So you can read this, all the dependencies. I will give the link for this page in the description box. But now let's move ahead. So if you scroll down a little, a very nice video is given here, which will make you understand the recovery service vault and how to delete it. Then if you will move ahead, this is the step-by-step process to delete a vault. So you can see that step 1 is given, then they have given some screenshot, and then step 2, step 3, and then step 4. In the step 4, if you will read out, there are two parts. First one is delete items in soft deleted state, and the second one is go to the vault dashboard, backup items, and click stop backup. And this is where our answer is lying. It says click stop backup to stop all the backups of listed items, and then click delete backup data to delete. So this is where we have picked our answer from. Hopefully the Microsoft document made it clear the logic behind picking this as an answer. Now let's move ahead. Question number 132 on log analytics says that log analytics agent can run on which of the following? Can they only run on physical computer, or can they only run on cloud computer, or can they run on many different platforms including other cloud providers? And I am sure that you have already pinned the correct answer, which is option C, on many different platforms including the other cloud providers. Coming to an interesting question on Azure Kubernetes in question number 133. The question says that you deploy an Azure Kubernetes service cluster that has a network profile shown in the following exhibit. You can see here that we have a pod CIDR, and this here is given the CIDR notation. You can see it's 10.244.0.0/16. Similarly, we are given service CIDR, DNS service IP, and then Docker bridge CIDR. Now let me ask you a very quick question. How many of you actually know what is a CIDR notation? Let me know in the comment section. Moving ahead with the question, it says that the container will be assigned an IP address in the subnet. So out of these CIDR notation, you have to tell which IP address will be assigned to the containers. Moving on, the second thing that question asks, that services in AKS cluster will be assigned an IP address in the subnet. So which IP address will be assigned to the AKS cluster? So now coming to the first part, please note that this first IP given here is IP of the pod CIDR. Then the second one is the service CIDR. The third one here is the Docker bridge CIDR. So the correct answer for the first one is the pod CIDR. And the reason for choosing this option as an answer is very simple, because we are talking about containers, and containers always live inside the pods. That's why the containers will be assigned the IP of the pod CIDR. Moving towards the second question, the correct answer is 10.0.0/16, which is the service CIDR. And the reason being because service CIDR is actually used to assign internal services in the AKS cluster and IP address. And if you are working with Azure Kubernetes and pod CIDR, then this is a cool tip for you. So always remember that the pod CIDR, this address must be large enough to accommodate the number of nodes that you expect to scale up. And why so? Because of the simple reason that you cannot change this address range once the cluster is deployed. So if in case you want more addresses for the additional nodes. So keep that important tip in mind. Our question number 134 says that you have an Azure subscription that includes following resources. So we have a container, which is a blob container. Then we have DB1, which is SQL database. We have share1, which is a file share, and then we have a table1, which is a Azure table. Further, the question says that you plan to export data by using Azure import export job named export1. Now you need to identify the data that can be exported using export1. Which data should you identify? Could it be DB1 or container1 or share1 or table1? Let's find the answer on the Microsoft documentation. On this Microsoft documentation, which talks about Azure import export system requirement, just a little scroll and then you will reach to this section which says supported storage type. And this section is further divided into two subsections based on the job. So you could have either import or export. Now that our question talks about the export jobs, we can see the supported storage types for the export are block blobs, page blobs, append blobs are supported. Also note that in export, Azure files are not supported. And you can also read about the import one. The link for this page will be available in the description box. So as we saw on the Microsoft documentation, the correct answer for this question is container. I'm sure that you all understand what this container is. But still, to remove all the confusion, this container is not related to Azure Kubernetes, containers or Dockers. So this container is not from that area. This is specifically a blob container. Our question number 135 says that a company has an Azure directory tenant named abc.com containing the groups in the below table. Also given configuration of 2 user account. Now you have to tell to which groups user1 and user2 belong. Here you can see that we are given with the name of the group. We have group 1, 2 and 3. Then we have type of the group. So we have security, MS-O365, and this also is MS-O365. Then we are given with the membership type. We have dynamic and assigned. And then we have this membership rule. And here you can see that we are given with the rules which says user.department / and this any means not equal to IT. Then the second rule is user country starts with I. Now the third rule is not given. Let's see the other table which is given with user 1, user 2, and then we are given with the department of the user, the country of the user, and also given if they have the O365 license or not. And from these two tables, you have to tell the user 1 belongs to which of the group, and similarly user 2 belongs to which of the group. The correct answer for user 1 is group 1. So user 1 will belong to group 1. The reason being that the membership rule says that the user.department not equal to IT. Here you can see that this is user 1 and his department is revenue. So this definitely is not equal to IT. So this user will be selected in group 1. However, let's see why it is not selected in group 2, because the group 2 membership rule says that the user.country starts with I. So we can see that for the user 1, the country name is United States, which definitely does not starts with I. That's why it will be only picked up in the group 1. Moving towards user 2, and the correct answer for user 2 is group 1 and group 2. Once again, checking the membership rule, we can see the user.department is not equal to IT, and we can see the user 2, the department name is research. So this will be picked up by group 1 and also picked up by group 2 because the country of the user starts with I. And the country for user 2 is India. So user 2 will be picked up both by group 1 and group 2. In case you want to learn more about the dynamic membership rules for the groups in Azure Active Directory, then this is the Microsoft documentation. You will scroll down a little and here you can see the usage of these kind of rules. You can see the properties of type string. We are given with the properties, what are the allowed values and the usage. If you want to learn about what this EQ means, then a little more scroll and you will reach to this table which says supported expressions operator. And here you can read all about the operators. For example, we just saw not equals, which is NE. Then we have equals, which is EQ, and so on and so forth. Now let's move on with question number 136. The question says that you have an Azure subscription. Users access the resources in the subscription from either home or from customer sites. From home, users must establish a point-to-site VPN to access the Azure resources. The users on the customer sites access the Azure resources by using site-to-site VPNs. You have a line of business app named App1 that runs on several Azure virtual machines. The virtual machines run on Windows Server 2016. You need to ensure that the connections to App1 are spread across all the virtual machines. What are the two possible Azure services that can you use? Your options are an internal load balancer, a public load balancer, an Azure Content Delivery Network or CDN traffic manager, or Azure Application Gateway. And the correct answer for this question is option A, internal load balancer, and option E, an Azure Application Gateway. Now let's check out the reasoning behind choosing option A and option E as a correct answer. So this is the correct explanation of the answers. So you can see the customer sites are connected through VPN, so an internal load balancer is enough, and that's why we have picked it as a correct answer. Now for option B, it says that the customer sites are connected through VPNs, so there is no need of public load balancer and an internal load balancer is enough, and that's exactly what we saw in option A. Similarly, a CDN does not provide load balancing for application. So that is also not relevant for this situation. And for the traffic manager, a traffic manager is a DNS based solution to direct user requests to the nearest instance and does not provide load balancing for this situation. And coming to the option E, we have Azure Application Gateway is a valid option as it provides load balancing in addition to the routing and security functions. I hope this clarifies the reasoning behind picking option A and option E as a correct answer. Our question number 137 says that you have an on-premises server that contains a folder named d/folder1. You need to copy the contents of d/folder1 to the public container in the Azure storage account named Contoso Data. Which command should you run? And your options are given here. And the correct answer for this question is option C, where we have AZ-copy command with recursive keyword. And the reason is simple. Whenever you have recursive, then the AZ-copy command will pick all the contents of any folder, in this case D folder 1, and put it in the destination folder. So for example, we have D folder 1, and let's say we have a lot of files inside it and there are subfolders with more files in it. Then the recursive command will pick everything inside folder 1 and put it in the destination specified here. And that's the reason behind choosing this as an answer. Are you ready for a rapid fire question round on Azure Kubernetes services? I'm sure you are. So here is the first one, question number 138, and it says that can I move or migrate my cluster between Azure tenants? The correct answer for this one is no. Moving on, we have question 139, and that says can I move or migrate my cluster between subscription? The correct answer is no. And then we have question number 140, and that says can I move my AKS cluster or AKS infrastructure resources to other resource group or rename them? And the correct answer for this one as well is no. If you want to discuss any aspect of these questions, then do let me know in the comment section below, and I will be happy to answer and discuss on Azure Kubernetes. Now let's move to the question number 141. But before that, I just wanted to say that if you are liking the content of the video, then please pause the video for a second and press that like button, subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon so that you get notification for all such interesting videos. Now let's move on with the question. Our question says that you have an Azure virtual machine named VM1. You use Azure Backup to create a backup of VM1 named Backup1. After creating backup, you perform all of the following changes to VM1. And the changes that you do are modify the size of VM1, copy a file named budget.xls to a folder named data, and then you reset the password for the built-in administrator account. And after that, you add a disk to virtual machine 1. Further ahead, an administrator uses the replace existing option to restore VM1 from backup 1. You need to ensure that all the changes to VM1 are restored. Which changes should you perform again? Should you modify the size of VM1 or reset the password for the built-in administrator account, or should you add a disk, or should you copy budget.xls to the data? And the correct answer for this question is you should copy the budget.xls to data. Now the question number 142 says that you need to create an Azure storage account that meets the following requirement. It should minimize the cost, support hot, cool and archive blob tiers, and provide fault tolerance if a disaster affects the Azure region where the account resides. How should you complete the command? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. So this is the base command that has been provided, and you can see there are some missing values here that are denoted by these question marks. So we have kind and you have to tell what kind, and you have SKU and you have to tell what SKU. And the values, permissible values, are to be selected from these two tables. So the correct value that you have to fill here for this kind option is storage v2, and the correct value for SKU is standard GRS. So once you have added these correct value to this command, then the correct command becomes this one. You can see I have fitted these correct option in this correct command. So you can note down this correct command, maybe take a screenshot or simply remember it. If you want to dig more on all the available commands for AZ storage account, then this is the Microsoft documentation. If you will scroll down a little on this page, you can see all the commands are listed here, and then more scroll and you will reach to a section from where I have taken this question from. So this is the section where Microsoft has shown the command and what are the required parameters, then optional parameter. So a very good page to read when you are actually start to work on this Azure storage account. And then rather using Azure portal, you want to mature yourself towards the CLI command or the PowerShell command, then I think this is a good startup page. Moving ahead with question number 143, and that says that you have an Azure Active Directory Azure AD tenant named contoso.onmicrosoft.com. The user administrator role is assigned to a user named admin1. An external partner has a Microsoft account that uses the user1@outlook.com sign in. Now admin1 attempts to invite an external partner to sign in to the Azure AD tenant and receives the following error message. So the error message is unable to invite the user1@outlook.com, generic authorization exception. Now you need to ensure that admin1 can invite the external partner to sign in to Azure AD tenant. What should you do? Your options are listed here, and the correct answer for this question is option A. From the user setting plate, modify the external collaboration settings. And then we have question number 144, and that says that you have an Azure subscription linked to an Azure Active Directory tenant. The tenant includes a user account named user1. You need to ensure that user1 can assign a policy to the tenant root management group. What should you do? And these are the options from which you have to select the correct answer. And the correct answer for this question is option C. Assign the Azure AD Global Administrator role to user1 and then instruct user1 to configure access management for Azure resources. And this brings us to the question number 145, which is the last question of our part 12 of our AZ-104 real exam question and answer exam series. So let's read the question. A company has several Azure VMS that are currently running in production workload. There is a mix of production Windows servers and Linux servers. Which of the following is the best choice for production backups? Should it be Azure Repos, Managed Snapshots, Azure Backup, or Azure Site Recovery? And the correct answer for this question is option number C, Azure Backups. Just to make you familiar with the other options, Azure Repos is related to the version control. It has nothing to do with backups. On the other hand, Azure Site Recovery helps your business ongoing even during major IT outages. So again, not related to backups. Now, if you are confused for the snapshot, then here is the clarification for that. So an Azure snapshot is a read-only copy of the existing disk in the Microsoft Azure cloud. This snapshot can be used as a backup or to create a virtual machine. However, the snapshot is only for a single point in time and is not the best choice for the production environment. And that leaves us to the only correct option, option number C, Azure Backup. And friends, now that we have discussed 145 questions already, I'm sure you have developed a good understanding on AZ-104. And with good understanding, better questions come in our thought process. So a good way to spark a discussion and ask your questions is to leave your comments in the comment section below, or you can also join me on other social media platforms. The links for the same are now appearing on your screen. Till we meet again in our next video, stay fit, keep learning, and thanks for watching.
If this video has added any value in your learning, a like and subscribe is highly appreciated. Share this video in your family and friends to spread and expand their learning. Your comments and feedback give me a chance to interact with you, and I look forward for them. We will meet again in our next video. Till then, stay fit, keep learning, and thanks for watching.